Hello and welcome to Skeindeer Knits. My name is Ellie and I am a Norwegian living and knitting in London. And you can find me on Instagram as Skeindeer, and I am Skeindeer Knits as a designer on Ravelry. Welcome to my knitting podcast, aka knitting talk show, where I sit and talk about knitting for about an hour every week or so. Yeah, so that's basically the thing I do here. If you're a new viewer, just like sitting and talking about knitting is something for you to listen and watch when you are knitting. That's what I do. Not right now, I have to talk now. I kind of want to just knit on my thing, but yeah. And yes, welcome back to returning viewers. I'm just gonna jump straight into where we left off last time. Thank you so much for receiving my third Selbu mitten club so well. Thank you so much. That, oh, it's the best. It's like the best time of the year now. Like, just forget about all those other holidays like Selbu mitten launch day. It just makes me feel like there's like, this is what I do. It's like, I don't know, finding the words for this. Yeah, it's just a kind of, it's also so nice to see how many of you guys are returning to the club from the previous two. So very grateful and just appreciative of the sheer enthusiasm that I have seen on Instagram and on Ravelry and on here. Thank you so much, and especially to the few just nutcases of you out there who knitted the first pair within the first 24 hours that the pattern was out. I know they're speedy, but come on. I mean, they are that fast, but it's just like the devotion, the yeah, thank you. So yeah, there are a couple of finished objects already on Instagram and Ravelry, and that was so much fun to see. It's always exciting when you start seeing people knitting your patterns. Like, that can't come soon enough. If you publish a pattern, you will know how this feels, but usually you will have to settle with that it does take a bit of time, especially if you do garment designs. But usually anything, it will take a while before someone had bought the pattern and finished the project. You don't usually get such a quick feedback loop as, you know, within 24 hours. So that I'm just don't know what to say. That, yeah, for anyone who doesn't know what I'm talking about, sorry, I'm talking about these. Wow. Shall we do the whole story? I have very little to talk about today, so let's just do the whole story from the beginning. From the beginning. I am from Norway. I'm from Trøndelag. In Trøndelag, there's a little village called Selbu, and Selbu has these mittens that are very near and dear to most Norwegians. And me, this Norwegian, moved to London 8 years ago and was already quite into knitting, but particularly felt more now drawn to Norwegian knitting, be it, you know, Selbu mittens, Set Star cardigans, Marius jumpers. I just wanted to knit those things to feel like a little, like I was a bit closer to home, I suppose. And so I just kept on doing that for years and years and years until about, I think 3 years ago, I got asked from, it's longer than 3 years ago. Anyway, my local yarn shop asked me to teach some classes there for color work, and I was like, okay, I need to find a pattern that's like quick enough, that's gonna like incorporate the things I want to teach. I'm like, oh, I don't know, but I could do Selbu mittens, but they take ages. But then I was like, well, you can do one that's quicker. So I did the Selbu mittens that I so cleverly and originally called them. That's what the pattern is called. And I used them to teach the class, and like the first edition of the pattern wasn't great, so I sat down and redid it, and then due to popular demand on the podcast, I put it up on Ravelry, and it got very popular. People knitted them over and over and over again because they expressed to me that this was the first time they've ever knitted colorwork mittens, that Norwegian colorwork mittens, that they could follow the pattern both in terms of language and the detail that things were explained. And just like, yeah, it was like a big first for them. So the same individuals would knit them over and over again, and I'm like, you should have more options. Like, there should be more options for you. So I just sat down and made a lot more mittens, sort of according to the same, not exactly the same formula because it's like different stitch counts and whatever, but like generally same yarn weight, needle size. I sat on them and I thought, okay, I'll launch it after summer. could do like a club, like a bit of a fun thing. There's a pattern coming out regularly, like on a monthly basis. We knit them together, do a knit along, do prices, and that'd be fun. Thought it won't be a big deal. But I had the mittens, the designs ready, all of it was ready to go. I launched the club, the idea and everything back in August 2017, and it exploded. Like, it got super popular. Lots of people jumped on it and like showed great faith in me for like, because I didn't have many designs out back then, and a lot of people just like put their money on me to produce designs that they would want to receive on a monthly basis till the end of the year. And I'm like, okay, I hope I'm worthy. And people were really, I'm not gonna pretend to speak on their behalf, but seemed really pleased, seemed really happy. There was a lot of enthusiasm around the club, so much so that I did it again. And I really thought that was going to be the last time, and I didn't think it. That's a very loud plane, goodness me. What else is new? So did it again last year, August 2018, and again it took off, and it was even bigger than the year before. And I'm like, wow, this is fun. And I'm like, it just means a lot to me, because when I started doing this, I was the only one doing this. I felt like I probably wasn't, but it wasn't in the mainstream. Those of us who were doing colourwork mittens, who were doing just colourwork in general, rustic wool, all that stuff, weren't featured on podcasts. We weren't trending on Ravelry. We just wasn't the thing. It seems very hard to imagine now with all the great colourwork designers trending all the time. So it seems very weird to imagine that that's what it was like just like 2-3 years ago, but there you go. One thing I will say was a bit different from last year to this year is my planning abilities, which is not great this year either, but particularly for the club, it's a lot better. I alluded to this last year, but I didn't really share it in great detail, and that was that the whole club was by a thread. It was like I was knitting and photographing the mittens like the last couple of days, the month prior to launch. So I would launch every pattern exactly the first every month, and like that week before I was just like knitting, block, dry, so I can photograph. And I would like drop them on the pavement on my way back and forth to work to photograph them there, whatever was around, you know, just fallen leaves and a bit of soaked tarmac. And I'm like, it's good, it's like I think the last pair was photographed in a coffee shop near Loop in London. First couple of pairs actually photographed on various travels I was in. So it was Oslo, Edinburgh, Bergen, I think. Don't remember. Anyway, so it was a bit like a travel project as well. I was doing a lot that autumn, so yeah, it just came together really well. It was by a thread. It really was. Oh, stressful but fun. So I'm really pleased that this year I'm actually planning. Things are ready well in advance. Like, all the mittens are knitted up and photographed. All the patterns are written up and ready. It feels a lot better to know that I can kind of lean back and take part in the fun bits instead. Just following up with the knit along in my Ravelry group. That's where you can post the mittens. I didn't explain anything about the knit along last time either, so I'm going to do that here. There was a lot of stuff to get through last time, and I didn't really do it very well. There is a knit along associated with this club. That's kind of the point of it, really, is the way you take part is you can knit one pair or as many as you want. You can knit just this pair a million times, or 5 times, or 1 time, or you can knit each 5 design pair, or like 3 of one and 1 of the other. Like, you do just the combinations that you want. I'm really not explaining this well. Basically, the only criteria is that you knit a pair and you get an enter for every pair you knit, and I don't care how many times you knit one particular design. That's basically the criteria. So obviously the more you knit, the more likely you are to win prizes, but you know, participation is what counts. So I will open a thread for submitting finished pairs a lot later, probably January, but there's a chatter thread where you can post what you've done thus far. You can talk about the mittens. That's the good thing about the chatter thread, because you're actually allowed to post the mittens and people can reply and say, yeah, I like them, or cool, oh, I done that too, I did that colour too, stuff like that. You know, knit along talk. Basically just nerding all the time. So that's the background story. Where does it lead from here? I'm trying to just focus on this club for now. I obviously have thoughts about future clubs, but I am probably thinking that maybe this is the last Selbu knitting club. The reason being is I think this will be the best one. That is big words, but I don't think I can, or maybe I can top this, but I think this last year's club, in my opinion, was better than the first club. This club, I think, is better than last year's, due to like all the just technical aspects, me planning, just the pattern write-up. I've become a lot better at writing patterns. My layout is nicer. I got a freaking tutorial out there for you guys, which, by the way, thank you so much for your kind words about that. I was really nervous about it, as the reason I don't put up tutorials. I know they aren't perfect, so that makes me very nervous that there are obvious things people could poke at and say, that's not good, that's not clear, that's not great. I'm like, it's better than nothing. And I got a lot of kind words about that tutorials. A lot of people who had like eureka moments and really felt like they could tackle mittens now, and that's the point, really. So thank you so much. They should be applicable to other mitten designs, not just others of mine, but others in general. Depends a little bit on how they do things, obviously, but in general it's a nice way to show how to pick up in color work, which is something some people kind of need to see demonstrated. And I don't know if there are that many videos on YouTube that show picking up stitches in color work. Usually it's just in one color. And the other thing is, I did also manage to incorporate my stranded knitting with magic loop trick, which is avoiding jogs by using magic loop. Usually people get jogs when they use magic loop and color work, because they just spanning the floats becomes a lot harder across the gap between the needles and cables. And I have a trick where I solve that, so I shoved that into that as well, because it was quite neat to demonstrate with a thumb, because that's where things can get really lumpy and weird. So I hope that was appreciated. It's such an easy thing, but it's so hard to explain in writing and in speech, but when I show people it's like, oh duh, obviously. So yeah, that's a very long beginning of the video to say thank you for your enthusiasm for wanting to knit these mittens, and they are fun. I'm not gonna underplay that. I think it's really fun to knit mittens that are this quick, that are so rewarding. You can get one done in a couple of hours. It depends on your speed. We all have different speeds, and I am not here to say that it's better to knit faster. I think it's better to knit at your pace. Just trying to put on the mittens here, that's, I mean, you can't be good at everything. That's better. I mean, it's not, because it's roasting hot here. I feel a bit lied to, because literally I packed down all the beautiful summer tops I've knitted this year. I packed them away. I thought summer was over. I got a bit deceived going to Norway. Norway is usually like an average of 5 degrees colder than here, so I thought, okay, put it down to, you know, 15, if not a bit less, and I thought it'd be less than 20 in London soon. So, but no, got 25 degrees today. So yeah, but I will always have a burgundy t-shirt at hand, because I am me, and yeah, I will get to wear you soon. I will. It's just a little bit too hot right now. Yeah, I think I got everything down about the club. I don't know when I'll get this video up, but since I'm recording this a lot earlier than I normally do, I know that now the discount code for the club should be applicable. I never remember what time frame I put on. I try to make them a bit random so that I don't know. I'll put it down here in case it's still valid. It will give you 20% off. So yeah, shall we talk about what I've knitted this week? I have knitted on quite a bit, but it doesn't feel like that much. I don't know why. Let's talk about this design that I have in progress. There we have it. You've seen it before. It doesn't look all that different. I Obviously I haven't done anything with the sleeves since last time, because that would require me trying this thing on, and I haven't. I'm gonna do it today. I meant to do it yesterday, but instead I sat and watched the whole season of the Dark Crystal series in one sitting. My bum hurts a little bit, but oh, it's so good. So whatever, that's got nothing to do with this. I worked on the body, that's why I'm holding this up. I worked a lot on the body. We got a lot of stockinette done. I think it's like this much or something. You can see the like transition between where it got blocked and not. So I think I'm at the desired length soon before I need to do the rib hem. No, it will be a bit longer. Who am I kidding? I'm going for long crop, so it will be suitable for both skirts and kind of trousers, jeans, that kind of thing. I try to make it a bit suitable for generally it probably should be a bit shorter for skirts, but I'm hoping this will be a bit of a cozy one and not one where you get like, you know, drafts of wind in the waist of your, between your skirt and the jumper. So that's kind of what I'm going with right now. I don't have much else to say. If this was completely new to you, it's a design that I am working on. It does have a very sort of small boat neck, which is lowered a bit with the help of short rows. I asked you guys last time if you were interested in a modification or like an alternative neckline that is wider, and quite a few of you said yes, so I will keep that in mind. I think I will make it just like this bit wider from here to here. When I say wider, I don't mean deeper. The short rows are kind of restricted to this much, and it's supposed to be a boat neck, not a round neck or like a crew neck. So it'll be wider, so it means that the kind of slit for the boat neck will come from like here to here instead of here to here. It's kind of roughly what I'm aiming for anyway. So that's Otra. It will be a thing. I'm really pleased with the sleeves. Oh my god, I have had a lot of sleeves nightmares lately. I just come to accept that sleeves always need to be wider than you think when designing. Like, you think, you look through the sizing spreadsheet and you go, okay, that's the arm circumference for that size. I'm just gonna calculate that into stitch count with the gauge that I've got and put that in there. Maybe an inch of posterities, that's nice. And it's like so tight because sleeves curve and they lose a bit of their surface area on the inside. It's weird, it's maths, I don't get it, but I've accepted it that I need to put in more ease. And so I'm working on that, and I've done that, and I did it with the house cardigan as well, which is why I knitted the sleeves twice. Yeah, so that's working out really well. It's funny in a way, it's kind of full circle, because with the vintage fjell sweater I actually did that. The sleeves are quite spacious and they fit just right, so I just need to go back to where I started because that worked. So oh dear. Size Otra, I'm knitting it with Navia Duo yarn, which I love. I just heard that you can get Navia Duo from Frame and Fiber in New Jersey, which is a lovely yarn shop that I have been to and will recommend. The next project that I have been working on, you have been looking at throughout this episode, and it is a bit weird. So, as some of you all know, I've been wanting to make another Vertices Unite shawl. That's the design by Stephen West. I did say when I cast off my first shawl, never again, that is too much garter, not gonna happen. And then I thought, oh, I want to do one. I want to do like one or two more. I've got a lot of single ply merino from both Gone Sud and La Bien-Aimée in my stash, and so that would be really good. But I also would like to make one in fionn. I've been wanting to do it for quite some time, and so I stash dove. I did it actually on an Instagram live stream, so that was kind of fun, and people got to see just how much yarn there is here and how unorganized it all is. So I spent an hour just finding the yarn before I decided to like look at it. And I had a few piles of different color combination, and there was one I really fell in love with in Usk by Hillesvåg, actually, not fionn, like purple and turquoise and grays, and I'm like, I like it. And then I looked at the yarn I had put aside that I was not going to use, and I'm like, that's interesting. It's not my comfort zone, it's not my colors, but that will look interesting, and if I don't like it, someone else will, so it can always be a gift. But I'm gonna try I'm gonna try these colors, and I'm gonna do a cheeky one. I always wanted to try this as well with Vertices, and that is to see at what gauge I need to knit the smaller version to make it the size of the larger version. And for anyone who's curious about this, you need to get a 16 stitch gauge. Instead of 24, get 16. If you do that, the smaller size shawl will be the largest size. Does that make sense? So basically the stitches will be bigger, thus the whole shawl will measure the same as the large shawl in the gauge written in the pattern. So I have done that, and I've done it with these colors that are a little bit outside the comfort zone, not that much. I want to show you the colors first before we do anything else. Yeah, it's kind of, ooh. I mean, using grey isn't that revolutionary for me. Oh, I'm also using this one. So these are actually the colors. The light blue isn't quite me, but it's grey enough that it kind of works. I do love these two colors as well. Red is the new phenol color, the new heathered red. It's a little bit too orange for me, but I thought I'd give it a go, and it's quite nice and complementary to this hand-dyed turquoise, which is dyed on Hillesvåg's Vilje base. So all of this is phenol except the turquoise, which is Vilje. So all of these skeins are phenol except this turquoise one, which is Vilje by Hillesvåg. And I think they do go really well together, and they look quite interesting. I thought that's going to be a really cool Vertices. So I'm going to throw all these back on the floor and show you what I came up with. I do think it's cool, but it is a lot outside of the comfort zone. I didn't think it would be that far out, but it is. A lot of stripes. So this is the red and the light blue together, and the two greys together. Just stripes and stripes. And then I joined in with the turquoise, and I'm like, it looks like a flag again, doesn't it? I'm not sure which flag. There's a flag that looks like this. I was like, it looks a little bit like the American flag. But there's like this arrow thing against the stripes. I'm like, that looks like a flag. I just can't remember, think of which one. And it's funny. How beautiful is this though? But this is funny because I don't know if you remember, but I was going to knit the triangle striped shawl by Sticky Lisa. I don't quite remember the name, but mark my words, I will knit it. And I had cast it on with the pelt wool yarns I have in my stash in the colors I wanted. So I'd chosen a beautiful red, perfect burgundy red, and a really nice autumnal orange and black. And I knitted the first couple of stripes, and I'm like looking at it going, that's the German flag. Now all I can see looking at this shawl is the German flag. No shade on the German flag. I'm just not going for that look. No shade on whatever flag this is. I'm just not going for this look. But I'm also too stubborn to do anything about it, and I want to see what it will look like. And honestly, you know when you're knitting on something and you're just looking at it where you are right now, and you get quite focused on it, and you just see the things you're not happy with. Like the one time I knitted stitches from 2 rows together here, it's like somewhere here. Yeah, it stands out, doesn't it? And that's all you can see, and then you get it from a distance and you've added more stuff to it, and it's just not a problem. So I am actually not too worried about this. This is actually looking at the right way. So it's all the stripes from the biggest sections here. We are going to do this big rectangle, which is nearly done now, and then I'm going to do one little small bright red section and stripe together some of these colors I've already used, and have a section at last that's just in a light grey. So I think this will all get quite balanced out in the end. I'm not sure what color to do around the edge. It could be cool to do the red. I could maybe see if I have more left of this turquoise. It could be any color. I got a lot of the greys as well. It'll be fine. It's almost a little bit of a waste to put in this beautiful hand-dyed yarn that wasn't particularly cheap either into a shawl that I'm not sure about. But you know what, I'm just, the way I'm solving this, I'm knitting on it super fast. I basically knitted most of this shawl in one sitting. which took a whole day because that's how exciting my life is, and let's not talk more about that. But yeah, I got through most of the stripe section here watching the whole season of the Dark Crystal. Can I talk more about the Dark Crystal? Maybe. We'll see how much time we have at the end of the episode. And then this section here wasn't that long, like it takes longer than you think though. And then I've just gone through this mostly last night and this morning. Oh, it's gorgeous. I wanted to use the slightly, you know, tonal yarn for this section because there's nothing else happening. There is no stripes, there's nothing. So I didn't want to just use a plain solid. I wanted something to happen, so that's kind of what's going on. It does look really cool actually. I do like it. The red stripes are actually what's a little bit but I think it will work. I think this is the thing with Vertices. You look at it and you go, it's a lot of geometry and it's a bit bold, but then the reason I love it is when you wear it, it's like around your neck and you kind of have these little sections popping out here and there, and it's like, oh, that's actually really cool. So yeah, I like it. I think it's just really far outside of my comfort zone, and every time I do that I just freak out a bit, but I think it's good practice. So even if I don't end up loving it, which I honestly think I will quite like it, but even if I don't, I'm never gonna be good at using color unless I branch out. If I always combine grey and purple and burgundy and white and black and navy blue and maybe the odd bottle green, if that's all I'm ever going to do, I'm not going to be good at working with any other colors. I look at what some other people are knitting and I'm just wondering how did you think of putting those colors together? That's brilliant. I would never have thought about that. I would have dismissed that and that and that. And I'm just trying to, yeah, be better. Whether I'm successful or not, we can debate, but I think there's something to be said about that. And you know what, it's just knitting, and I think this is looking really cool. And I have a sweater quantity in Jill Draper Makes yarn, which is sort of similar to this color. It's not this tonal, it's quite solid, but the color is quite similar. So I will in the future have a cardigan that will go really well with this one. And I think it's so cool. I love this icy look, and look how much there's left. I'm nearly done with this rectangle, and that's all that in the pattern you're going to be using of this yarn. Obviously that would be different if I choose to do the I-cord all the way around in this color, which I'm not sure I will. I think red is more likely, or charcoal. I will have a lot left, so there's still stuff I can do with this color, which is exciting. So I'm thinking I might do the rest of it, use the rest of the yarn in some mittens, some color work, you know. And I love this yarn as well. Vilja by Hillesvåg is one of my favorites. It's just so lovely and soft. It's got a little bit of shine to it. For a lamb's wool, it's just, yeah, quite shiny. I kind of wish I'd gotten a bit further to show you guys more of what this will look like, because right now it is at that awkward, ambiguous flag stage. I think yeah, it will, you know, I've made considerable progress given I cast this on yesterday morning and we're not even at lunchtime yet. I think we're just at lunchtime now, so that's not too bad. But I just wanted to show you as well, because I'm using 5.5s here, right? This is the Zing needles that they gave me to review ages ago. I have made the review ages ago. I like the needles, obviously I'm using them. The case still smells like a new car. Like 1 or 2 years later, it still smells like a new car. But I do like the needles, I use them quite a bit, so just update on the review, I suppose. But they're 5.5s, and look, you can do a Vertices in 5.5s. I mean, that's a lot better than 3.5 if you ask me. It's not better, it's just, I don't know, instant gratification if that's what you're into. Oh, that stitch is gonna bother me so much. Why did you have to do that, Ellie? Ellie of the past. Oh well. Vertices Unite by Stephen West. I am making this to take part in 2 knit-alongs. I know that Pinagudi is doing one in her Facebook group, which is mostly Norwegian, and Sticky Therapy, the Norwegian podcast, is also doing a knit-along for it. So that's just for my Norwegian speaking, understanding viewers out there. This is my entry. Will it be my last Vertices? No, probably not. It is really fun. If you ever want to have a project with a bit of mindless garter, this is the thing. You will need to kind of be able to wrap your head around the beginning of each section, but you get very quickly into it. And if you make a mistake, don't fret. I know a lot of people get quite caught up on that. They maybe just get one thing wrong in the first section and then everything else will be like a bit offset and none of the numbers will add up, and it does not matter. Just finish the sections. You know, if you're like supposed to decrease up against one section or something, just finish it to that section. Counting, there is a reason why the pattern never really gives you a full stitch count of everything. It just says how many times you do something. And if you need to do 1 time fewer or more, okay, it will be a good shawl. I haven't made any such mistakes on this one, but on the last one I did, and it's just as good as any other Vertices shawl I've seen out there. So that's my word of advice for anyone who has had problems with this shawl. It really doesn't matter. That is the beauty of it, is if you make a mistake, it is quite forgiving. You don't have to go back and rip it out. Yeah. And I'm also in awe of the write-up of it. I obviously can't show you because that's showing you the pattern, but since starting designing, I've just been very taken with the designers who can write a pattern in succinct ways. I always tend to, I always aim for that as well. It sort of make the academic in me very happy to write concisely, but it's hard, especially the more complicated and novel and different a design you make is supposed to be. Using few words to be able to explain it is a challenge. I generally think that makes a pattern better. I often find the more words you use, the more confused people get, because I think people just look at the block of text and go, oh, that looks complicated, and that's not necessarily why someone would use a lot of text to explain something, but that's often how we psychologically react. Yeah, that's all I have to say about my little Vertices lump. I really want to knit on it again soon, so I'm going to try to, you know, talk fast and finish recording so I can get back to it. I'm joking, I'm happy to be doing this. I was just checking my pattern notes now. It says that cardigan again. Yeah. I started designing a cardigan ages ago. I don't remember when. It was probably last year, more than a year ago, I'm guessing. It was when I got really absorbed in the ziggurat method by Otra, not cigarettes. You know, I'm not endorsing that. The ziggurat method. It's brilliant and everyone should try it, and if you haven't, I'm gonna look at you judgmentally until you do, because it's really good. Not sponsored, just a massive fan. And I immediately wanted to see how I can translate that into stuff to do with color work, with steeking, stuff like that. So I have done that for quite a few designs now. You will see it in the Icelander and Otra and Host, but they're all quite different because Host is bottom up, Otra and Icelander are drop sleeves, whereas all the ziggurats are usually set in sleeve designs. So this is the first top down set in sleeve design. I'm gonna try to do something a bit similar, but not quite. So what I showed you ages ago, I think I showed you anyway, is this thing. Oh, this has been through a lot. It's been in the freezer. I think I soaked it at one point. I don't know why. And why is it tangled? Okay, here we are. It looks like a hat, a baby cardigan thing. It's weird. It's an adult size cardigan. This is the steek for the neckline. So once you cut this open, you will get, the neckline will be all this circumference along here. It will be big enough, is what I'm trying to say. Especially here, you cast on for the front of the neckline. And then I just stopped working on it, and I'm not sure why. The pattern's actually written up and I could just power through like it was anyone else's pattern, potentially with a bit of errors because nobody's ever made it yet. But yeah, so why did I not work on it? I don't know. But as time progressed, I progressed, which is good because regressing I would rather not. So I look back. I look back at where I was last year as a designer and just like how much I've learned and been able to do and understand and comprehend and wrap my head around in design. And it feels a bit naff to be picking up something from last year that I would do a bit different and arguably a bit better. So it just wasn't really motivating me anymore, and that's why it took so long. and I've since come across some ways to grade satin sleeve designs a bit better as well. I tried it out when I did the Soleil shell. Despite not having sleeves, it really helped me get my head around that. And then I did it for Host, and I'm like, you know what, I should revisit that cardigan and see if I have a better way of doing this design. Now, it wasn't actually as bad as I remembered how I'd done it previously. I just think it's easier for me to go back to that design and look at it later, for whatever reason that might be, because that's really hard. If you made a design and you put it out there and you have to change it maybe 1 year down the line or several years down the line, oh my god, it's nearly impossible. It's like you almost have to redesign the entire thing, because it's just so hard to go back to your notes and your spreadsheets if you just don't quite remember anymore. The pattern will be like perfectly well written up to follow, but in terms of editing the code, if you will, can be really hard if you don't have good spreadsheets. So I just tried to return to this and cast it on again, and this time I made sure to film myself doing it. I don't know if it's very good because the light wasn't really the best. I'm not sure the focus was with me, but you know what, I just keep saying it's better to have one than not. So this is what I've done. That's what it will look like before you get to this stage where it's a bit more friendly to have a 16-inch 40cm circular to work in around, whereas here I'm magic looping, and now I just stretched it out on the needles to show you kind of what you're dealing with. So we got 2 shoulder caps, and there's a seam on top here on each side. Got the neckline, the back of the neckline only, so this is just from here all the way back to here, and now I'm shaping the front, so along here. Kind of helps it's the same color, doesn't it? And eventually you will have come to this point. That's when you bind off the steek that you've got here and cast on with this round bit here. So later, if you cut open the steek, which looks very brutal when I do this, but whatever, it will open up and you will have a neckline. I did it with Host, I'm gonna do it with this one. I will make you guys love steeking. And it will also have these little steeks for the armholes. So that's what's, these little holes here is basically the separation between the steek and the actual body of the shoulders of the cardigan, if you will. It's a lot to wrap my head around. I am excited about it. I know what it's going to look like. It's going to look really cool and sort of vintagey. Also, you may remember, oh, this is why I put it down and didn't own it for ages. It's all coming back to me. I couldn't decide which color to use, if I was going to use the unbleached white or the heathered grey. I am still not sure. I think I like the idea of the heathered grey. I like also the unbleached white. It's going to have a very sort of creamy vintagey look, but it's earing towards yellow, and sometimes I feel like purples and yellows kind of cancel each other out in a way, like they kind of don't harmonize. I know other people love those colors together. I'm just kind of like so that might be a reason. I also think it might be easy to photograph something in cooler tones instead of trying to balance out a cooler main color and a slightly warmer white. The light today makes me look a little bit dead. We got a lot of sun coming in, so I had to draw down the blinds, so it's like only hitting this side of my face, so this side looks a bit like I'm in, you know, those films where people have a flashlight under their face. And yeah, the last casting I done, it lives in my little grey girl bag, which is nice. It's from a kit that I have, and it's one that I just didn't think I would do in ages because it's only 3.25mm needle, which is quite small. This is the, oh, can I remember the name? Balmaha? Balmaha, that's what my notes say, by Kate Davies. So I've had this kit for a while, and just look at how fine this yarn is. The Milwaukee tweed. It's fine. It's very fine yarn, which I'm not averse to, and it's actually not that different from Pickles merino tweed. I think it's all by Knoll yarn or Knoll yarn, whatever you pronounce that. So you could substitute with a lot of similar tweed yarns like Pickles merino tweed. Debbie Bliss had a yarn very similar as well. The fiber compositions are different, but it's close enough. So in case you need something to compare with when I say it's fine, it's mostly because it's a single ply. So when I'm knitting in a 325, I thought this is going to be a tight fabric, and it's not. It's really nice and light. I'm going to just show you from the inside out. You can see kind of something reminiscent of my face, resembling my face, language. Also you can see how terribly badly I weave in my ends. So I'm really liking the fabric with the single ply tweedy yarn. I am loving how this is looking, and just the fact that I use a kit means that again I get pulled out of my comfort zone using a blue that is a bit different than my usual. I'm more of a navy blue kind of girl, and so this kind of more, let's say, cobalt blue, not a color expert, and browns. I don't know if you can see the corrugated rib here is in 2 shades of brown and 1 sort of beige and a light blue, and there is more like a bright blue that will be used with the yoke later. It is very different. I am loving this. What shocks me more is how far I've come, because I thought this will take forever, lots and lots of stitches, teeny tiny needles. It's pretty big. I've made it quite far. It's just one of those travel friendly stockinette things again that is just good to have. So I let's be honest, I don't think this will be finished this year or any time or whatever, but it's just nice to have something like that, something that you know you want, because I have wanted this jumper for years and years and years. That's the kit, and I just never got around to it. And I'm like, well, if I wanted this for this long, surely years from now I will still want it, which is, you know, different from those things that suddenly pop up on Ravelry and like, I want to cast it on now. I never thought about this before, it's never been in my queue, I want to cast on now, and then a couple months down the line you don't really want it anymore, whereas this is like a long-term kind of want. So that's really all I have to say about it for now. I'm on the second blue skein. There's only one of the other ones, so yeah, I'm just knitting in the round. There's nothing really to you know, write home about. So yeah, those were my 4 projects this week. That's not a lot for me. Wow. So yes, that is all that I have for you this episode that is to do with knitting. I do have something I kind of on a whim now decided I wanted to talk about, not to do with knitting. So if you're just here for knitting, you don't have to watch anymore. You never have to watch, obviously. I'm now, from now on forth, not going to talk about knitting. So thank you for watching. I will see you next time. But if you're here for other things than knitting, I am going to talking about things that are not knitting. Yeah, so let's just, you know, get comfortable. It's scary sometimes talking about stuff that is not knitting. It is, I think everyone who does this, whatever they do on YouTube, as soon as they move outside their kind of specialized content topic, they will be told off by at least a few that this is not why they subscribed, and they don't want to hear about this stuff that is not to do with this stuff. And it's kind of like, oh, here I was thinking I could do what I wanted because it's my channel, but hey, whoa. So it's always that little fear that someone's gonna say that, and I'm just gonna be like, you know, it stings a bit. It stings a bit every time someone's negative. But personally, I enjoy watching podcasts where towards the end it gets a little bit off topic and you learn a bit more about the person, and it doesn't matter if they're like similar interests to you or similar people to you. Really the only thing we have in common is knitting, so it doesn't surprise me that sometimes there are other things, and I find that just kind of cool, because otherwise we just sit with this assumption that we're all the same, and I'm like, well, obviously not. So that's not, anyway, I wasn't going to go down that lane. So 2 things I just thought I would do is, like, one is just talk about the stuff that I've been watching as I am knitting, because I imagine you guys watch stuff while you knit too. And also, when I don't watch stuff, I listen to music, and I've been a massive metalhead since I was 13. I was like, that's more than half my life. So for me that makes a big part of my life, but it doesn't really make it to the podcast. And so I have talked to a couple of people I've mentioned on live streams and Instagram, and I don't remember on the podcast, like, how would you guys feel if I made a playlist, a Spotify playlist, like Skeindeer's favourite songs or Skeindeer's favourites right now, or stuff that Skeindeer might want to play for you to kind of be, you know, your gateway drug to Skeindeer's favourite music? I may have already set up these playlists. I'm just wondering if I should. It could be a bit off-putting to a lot of people, because even the stuff that I think might be like good, you know, gateway songs, maybe. Sometimes like my criteria for people who are like, oh, just play me anything, I just don't like metal. I'm like, oh, you should listen to this song, it's not metal, you should like it. And it's like, that's not how it works. But all my days do I get served, oh, this song is metal, you should like it. And I'm like, I don't like every metal act out there. I'm actually quite picky about my metal. It's not like, oh, you like metal, do you like this band? I'm probably not, honestly. Anyway, that's a tangent. So yeah, let me know if you're interested. If you're not, then I will just spare it to the end of an episode. But if there are enough people who think it would be cool, I might consider that. Now might be a good time to mention that for a while now I have actually made 2 playlists of mine public on YouTube. I have always had them because I use them to listen to music, and that is Skeindeer Knits, which is again just my personal playlist that I made years ago, that may be a little bit old now, but I still quite like it. And the playlist Devin Townsend albums, which is self-explanatory. I just use them to access music when I want to listen to stuff. Now I have Spotify, so I don't really use them anymore, but I just thought I'd make them public, so I have done that a while ago. If anyone's curious what sort of, you know, like the traumatizing music I like to listen to, that might be something you want to check out. But if you're not into metal, then you probably don't want to. So it's for those a particular especially interested, maybe. But I might publicize my Spotify playlists as well if you're interested. I have found a surprising number of knitting metalheads who follow me on Instagram and here. So I'd like to hear from you if you're out there. If you're not, don't worry, I will never make you feel left outside for not being part of that particular niche part of my interests. I know what that feels like. I am a metalhead in the world of people who are not, so, you know, that's never great. So it's never gonna take over. The other thing I wanted to talk about is the Dark Crystal, because I am just so into the new season on Netflix. I've talked about it a lot. It's kind of mad. I watched it the 3rd time, and this time in one sitting. Yeah. It probably doesn't surprise anyone who's a Devin Townsend fan that I also like the Dark Crystal, because he's also very influenced by that first film. But otherwise it's completely unrelated. It's just they connect. I recommend it. That's really all I wanted to say. I hadn't planned a big review or anything. I just want to say I recommend it. It's like a big epic fantasy, 10 hours long with puppets, and it's so good and just emotional, epic, funny, scary. Oh, it is so good. I have a lot of thoughts about it. One thought I have, and this is not going to be a spoiler, but if you've seen the film that came out in the 80s, like 81, 82, 83, you will know the ending. Like, that's the film, and the series is a prequel, so you will know how it ends in the film. Now, I think, having watched the series, there is one character who I feel, and I may be wrong, but I feel like that character is hinting to a different direction. Call me out if I'm wrong. Say it if you think I'm just playing into wishful thinking, because we know why I would wish that. But yeah, that's something I want to put out there. Is anyone else noticing this? Is anyone else thinking that that could be a thing that they could do with it, so that it's not predictable, that we don't know how it's gonna end? So yeah, if you just want to have something to, you know, knit with for 10 hours, The Dark Crystal on Netflix. I'm just gonna say it once more. That's really all I had to say about that. if you want to hear more about music and stuff and playlists to do with like me, then we can do that as like a sort of not niche side thing. And if you need anything to watch the Dark Crystal, just yes. So that's all I got for you this week. Thank you so much for watching, and especially for this slightly less organized ending of this video. Yeah, so I'll see you next week or whenever next I record. Bye.